Just ahead on CTV News.
I'm Byron Scott in Suitland, where a 9-year-old boy dies in a house fire. We'll have that story coming up.
Plus,
the county school system breaks ground on a new school building in District 2. I'm Katara Jones. I'll tell you which school coming up on CTV News.
and we give you a preview of a national night out. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for August 5th. I'm Michaela Newton.
And I'm Jonathan Hunter. Thanks for joining us. The investigation into that deadly house fire in Suitland continues.
Flames broke out overnight in the single-family home, trapping 2 people inside. Byron Scott has our story.
I'm Byron Scott in Suitland. This is where that fire happened early this morning at around 1:45 at 5808 Off Road, where a young boy died. This was the scene early this morning on the 5800 block of Off Road in Suitland. Investigators say it appears the fire began on the first floor of the single-family house. A 9-year-old boy and an adult were trapped and pulled from a second-floor window. The adult was not injured, investigators say, but the boy, who was rushed to Children's National Hospital in D.C., later died.
I walk through here all the time going to the metro.
James Bruckner lives nearby.
It's a terrible situation, a terrible loss, and it can happen to anybody, on any day. So you got to be prepared. Well, I don't know, but they have protection in the house smoke alarm. But if you don't have it, I'll say, make sure you do have it, or whatever the case might be.
It turns out, according to investigators, that there were no working smoke detectors in the house. Fire crews are back in the area this morning, canvassing the neighborhood and handing out free smoke alarms.
I don't even know what to say. The word can't even come to, the mind to say how bad a situation come, but give you heed to let it can happen to anybody, right? Me, you, or him.
2 firefighters suffered minor injuries in the blaze. As for the cause, that remains under investigation. In Suitland, Byron Scott, CTV News.
All right, Byron, thanks so much for that report. Meanwhile, the first Tuesday of August is a big day for law enforcement. Seniors at Cameron Grove are getting to know their police officers ahead of National Night Out. Senior residents at Cameron Grove Resort Center in Upper Marlboro watched as a parade of cars drove by. Vendors and caterers were also on the site.
I do a lot of barbecuing and ribs and pulled pork and brisket and all the good stuff.
But today was about more than just food and fun.
This is great. We've got a very active Homeland Safety and Security Committee that really reaches out to the people that support us and the people who keep us safe.
It's National Night Out, where community and law enforcement meet. And this morning, Cameron Grove got an early start.
We're your police department. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear your concerns. We want to get to know you when you don't need us, so that when you need us, we already have that relationship there.
And public safety is at the heart of everything I do as a council member, everything I've done as a prosecutor, and even in defense work.
Denise Johnson looks forward to helping plan the event every year.
This is a year in the makings, yeah. So once this is over, we'll start planning for next year.
The Prince George's County Public School System is celebrating a groundbreaking on a new elementary school.
The event brought out education, local, county, and state leaders to the Old Hydesville Elementary School. And CTV's Katara Jones is outside the building with more.
Hydesville Elementary has been educating students here in Prince George's County for more than 100 years, but now the school is turning a new chapter and getting a new school building. The toss of dirt at the old Hydesville Elementary School marks a new chapter as construction is set to start on what will be the new Hydesville Elementary School on the 5300 block of 43rd Avenue in Hydesville.
This is a day that is really a celebration of all the efforts of our entire community, of our parents, of our students. It's just an amazing thing. When you think about the history of this school, it has been around since almost the establishment of Hyattsville. And the fact that it's going to be able to continue for generations to come, that's the way to go.
Construction of the school is part of the county school system's public-private partnership. Once completed, the 133,000 square foot building will have 4 floors and accommodate 650 students.
Actually, this list of schools was, and I'm going to talk about it in my remarks today, you know, it was hard fought at the council to make sure the second round of P3 was approved, was supported by the community. Hyattsville Elementary is a heartbeat in our community here in District 2, and I'm just couldn't be more thrilled.
It's extremely important to roll out new schools, but I think it's also equally as important to renovate and rehabilitate our older schools. We're not going to be able to build all new schools, but every student is important and their learning environment is important.
The new school will also meet the silver certification standard under the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design.
We're going to get a crown jewel, right? The most state-of-the-art school that will be built at that point in time, solar panels, and such an urban school that is a model for other urban schools.
School officials say the new Hyattsville Elementary School is expected to open in time for the 2028 to 2029 academic school year. Katera Jones, CTV News.
Thanks, Katera, for that story. While construction is underway, the building will be closed. However, students will be attending Hyattsville Elementary at its St. Mark's location on Adelphi Road. A former county council member that went to jail for stealing campaign funds is speaking for the first time since getting a job back in county government. Mel Franklin says he is grateful for the second chance council at-large member Calvin Hawkins gave him. You may remember that Franklin was supposed to serve a 1-year sentence in jail for illegally using more than $100,000 in campaign money for his personal use. However, he was released earlier this summer and was then hired by Hawkins as his new chief of staff. Despite the controversy surrounding his new position on Hawkins' team, Franklin says he has a lot of knowledge to offer.
I credit to the Anne Arundel County Department of Corrections. It was an experience that was tough, but it was fair. And I appreciate their professionalism, and I appreciate that the residents of Prince George County and the leaders have been welcomed as I return to do good with this opportunity. The question becomes, when you have so much that you've learned and that you have done in public service, do you quit because you messed up, or you come back and you make up for it by doing even more and doing even better? I say the latter.
I'm very clear about the severity of what happened with Mr. Franklin, but after several conversations with him, I believe he has learned a lesson and that he has so much to offer.
And Hawkins says he has empathy for Franklin and stands behind his decision to hire him.
Well, the Maryland Car Rally Task Force had their hands full this weekend after dismantling 8 rallies in Prince George's and Montgomery counties. 20-year-old Oscar Rodriguez, 21-year-old Jose Capistran Lopez, and 24-year-old William Reese were all arrested on Saturday. Reese was charged with unlawful possession of a loaded handgun in a vehicle. They have all been transported to the Prince George's County Detention Center. Meanwhile, a new school year is almost here, and in Montgomery County, students are preparing for a stricter grading policy. Part of the district's return to rigor plan, the changes will impact grades starting in the 2025-2026 school year, with tougher rules on deadlines, late work, and how final grades are calculated. At a recent school board meeting, students said the timing was unfair and worried the policy could hurt those dealing with stress or mental health struggles. The district says it's about raising standards, but students say their voices were left out.
Health advocates and lawmakers are appalled at a new report that details major health and safety issues at the Department of Juvenile Service facilities. The Juvenile Monitoring Unit detailed their findings in a 49-page report. The report shows allegations of sexual abuse taking place among youth in custody. There were also complaints of roaches and mites crawling on students' beds. Delegate Sandy Bartley called the report shocking and extremely disappointing. Acting DJS Secretary Betsy Fox Talentino says she is reviewing staff and operational challenges. A new report details why a United Airlines pilot was forced to call Mayday shortly after taking off at Dulles Airport last month. The left engine of the Dreamliner failed not so long after leaving the airport. Thanks to air traffic controllers, they were able to guide the jet back to Dulles for a safe landing. Flight 108 was headed to Germany on July 25th. There were 219 passengers and 11 crew members on board. The Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority said the plane was checked by Airports Authority, fire, and rescue personnel. No other flights were disrupted. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Jonathan Hunter.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Coming up, Council Chair Burrows has announced a new program to help seniors.
Find out what it covers and how your loved one can benefit back in a moment.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Welcome back. It's being called a game changer for Prince George's County seniors, and it's funded by the casino that once divided the community. Council Chair Edward Burrows launches a new $5 million initiative to help seniors make ends meet. It covers essential expenses, including mortgage, rent, property taxes, utilities, and even lawn care.
It's the largest senior citizen support fund dedicated to one district in our county's history. Also, when the MGM Casino came in December of 2016, the residents were promised additional resources. However, the fund that was dedicated for those additional resources was used to fund things that our tax dollars already pay for, like the police department, the fire department, minor improvements in schools. Those are things that our tax dollars already pay for. And as a result of this fund going there, the residents never saw an additional benefit. This is the largest investment of an additional benefit since the casino has opened.
Nearly 3,000 seniors in District 8 are expected to benefit, and applications are due through the end of the month.
Teachers in Maryland are starting to see a negative impact with the legalization of marijuana. 2 years ago, cannabis became legal in the state for recreational use. A survey found many Maryland teens think their peers are using cannabis more as a result. Baltimore County Councilman and public high school teacher David Marks believes more students are showing up to school under the influence. Plus, school resource officers have noticed a slight uptick in student use as well.
Meanwhile, big leadership news at Guidewell. Brian P. Nick has been named the company's new president and CEO starting October 1st. P. Nick currently leads Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield and chairs the board at the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association. In his new role, he'll also oversee Florida Blue, Guidewell's largest subsidiary, along with all of the other companies or other operations, including Triple S Management in Puerto Rico.
Governor Moore is one of the Democratic governors being viewed as someone who could be a 2028 contender. Right now, Democrats are down at the federal level. Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate. Recent polling shows Democrats are concerned about their party's future. Democratic activists believe Moore could be a good candidate in 2028. Moore in the past has said he will not be running for president.
Well, some Maryland farmers are concerned that thousands of acres of valuable farmland will be consumed by the solar industry. At least one solar company is sending out mailers offering farmers up to $7,000 an acre. Some farmers are also concerned that a law passed in the Maryland General Assembly this year that, among other things, sets limits on a county's ability to set solar zoning rules will only make matters worse. One development that may favor farmers, President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which eliminates federal tax incentives for solar projects. Well, some summer campers had an opportunity to get one with nature while facing their fears and having fun. The Prince George's County School System has partnered with Prince George's Parks and Recreation to host a therapeutic rec summer camp for young people with special needs. Yesterday marked day one of the environmental portion of the camp, where the attendees went to William S. Smith Outdoor Education Center, commonly referred to as Camp Smith. The more than 20 participants were hooked to harnesses and took part in the popular ropes course that ended with a zip line.
What's really great is you see just that look of self, just they're so proud of themselves because they're doing something that a lot of them didn't even know that they could do. When we were back at the other part of camp and we raise your hand if you're ready, and a lot of the kids raised their hand, and then a few kids were like, no, and I bet you that at least half of the no's will be on this thing at the end of today. Today's ropes course, and we're also going to do a stream study. Okay. So we're going to look into our stream and we're going to check out the organisms and see what the quality of the water is here, and then we're going to learn all about water quality and how it doesn't, just because something looks clear doesn't necessarily mean that it is drinkable, and also if it looks dirty it doesn't necessarily mean it's polluted, and so we're going to learn all about that by the organisms that live in the stream.
The campers range from ages 13 to 21 years old, and organizers say these campers will participate in environmental-related activities all week.
Montgomery County's Little League baseball team still has a chance to make it to the World Series. The team, known as the Wolfpack, is representing Maryland in the Mid-Atlantic Baseball Tournament. They beat DC's Capitol Hill Little League team yesterday 12-5. The Wolfpack will play the winner of Pennsylvania and Delaware, and if Montgomery County wins 2 more games, they will advance to play in the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So cool. The Washington Commanders are making a huge commitment to grow the game of girls flag football. Yesterday, the team announced they will contribute $1 million to 127 teams in the DMV region. Each program will receive 25 custom Nike uniforms, an NFL flag kit, and a chance to offer Commanders-hosted programming in their communities. This investment is one of the largest contributions to girls' youth sports in the region. And still to come on CTV News.
Dr. Hack returns to the CTV studio, and today she's talking to us about endometriosis.
That's right, and find out what it is and how it affects the body of women when we return.
We are women first, but women with disabilities last.
During a military exercise, we crashed and I broke my neck.
When I was in the Air Force, an accident changed my life. I couldn't have imagined the injustices I would face.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
In the 25 years since my injury, I have not seen a gynecologist. There's not one accessible OBGYN in my community.
I found lumps in my breast. I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible, but when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
I don't know where I'd be today without access to testing. Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
If words were enough, I would help you bear your burden. I would watch each child of yours grow strong and true. Teach them to read and to write and to sing, so that their voices be forgotten nevermore. If words were enough, I would sate your hunger, and you would know you are my sister, my brother, my child. If words were enough.
It's so hard to predict a sick kid who just keep getting sicker, but we needed to be together as a family. My family is my entire life. My family means the world to me.
When we're together and we have support from Ronald McDonald House, we can be a little stronger. They provide food and a place to rest your head, and they will help you through every step. That's what gets you through every day when you don't know how else you're gonna make it.
It makes you feel like you're not alone.
Welcome back. Did you know endometriosis is one of the leading causes of female infertility and affects 24 to 50% of women with infertility every day?
It is one of the many conditions that can impact women regardless of socioeconomic factors like race, education, or employment.
That's right. Back in the studio with us today to discuss endometriosis and some of its causes is Dr. Stephanie Hack. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Dr. Heck, tell us a little bit about what endometriosis actually is and how do you actually get endometriosis?
Sure. So endometriosis is a chronic inflammatory condition. But basically what that means with this condition is the tissue that's inside the uterus doesn't stay inside the uterus. It actually travels to other places in the pelvis.
And I know I have a close friend of mine who actually has endometriosis, and I remember that once a month during her menstrual cycle, it could be pretty rough on her. Talk about how it affects women every month.
Sure. So the primary things that people experience are going to be chronic pelvic pain and really painful periods. And that's kind of a cycle with the hormones and the inflammation and some other chemicals the body produces like prostaglandins. But all of this works together to really cause a lot of pain. And then whenever you have inflammation in the body, that can also cause a lot of pain.
Yeah, and can you kind of talk about some of the additional causes of endometriosis and what are the known risk factors?
Sure. So there are a few primary theories, specifically 4, but the main theory is something called retrograde menstruation. I know it's a handful of words. But during the menstrual cycle, when a woman is menstruating and the blood would typically come out of the uterus through the vagina, instead, it also goes into the fallopian tubes and out into the pelvis. And so that's the primary theory that we think is what causes endometriosis. And there are some other theories that are a little more complicated to explain. And then the risk factors. So one of the things that we know is there is kind of a familial association. So if somebody in your family, like your mother or your sister has endometriosis, then you are at a higher risk for endometriosis as well.
And does this affect fertility?
Yes, for a few reasons. One, the inflammation. Very early in the disease, if somebody doesn't have a lot of endometriosis per se, there's still the chemicals that are released because of the inflammation, and they can cause damage to the DNA and sperm, and they can also cause damage to the ovaries as well. And then further along, as the disease progresses, you can get a lot of scarring in the pelvis because of the inflammation. And so, one thing with ovulation and getting pregnant, where your fallopian tubes and your ovaries are really matter. When they're scarred in different places because of endometriosis, it changes your pelvic anatomy, and that can also lead to infertility.
Is there a certain age range of women that get endometriosis over other ages?
It's just women of reproductive age.
And then talk about the stages of endometriosis.
Sure. So there are 4 stages. I don't want to mess this up, but I think it's minimal, mild, moderate, severe. And that's really going to depend on where in the pelvis the endometriosis is found and then how deep the tissue has grown into the organs in the pelvis. And the interesting thing about it, which I always found interesting, is just because you have stage 1 doesn't mean you can't have a lot of pain. And just because you have stage 4 endometriosis, which is the most severe, doesn't mean that you'll have pain. It's really interesting. So the degree of endometriosis and the level of pain you have aren't necessarily correlated. And then furthermore, I forgot what I was going to say.
Tell us a little bit about how endometriosis is actually diagnosed.
Sure. So we go by your physical exam and what the person is saying, their medical history, their complaint. But really, to ultimately know if someone has endometriosis, we need to do a tissue biopsy. And that is typically done during laparoscopic surgery.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. For more information on women's health and Dr. Heck's podcast, visit ladypartsdoctor.com. And don't move, Simon Buggs is here with our Tuesday Sports page.
That's right. What's going on, Simon?
Don't go anywhere, sports fans, because I have some football and baseball news all coming your way after the break. Be right back.
You've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You have to carefully monitor your health for the rest of your life, and you have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Cut. Type 2, take 2.
Action. You've been diagnosed with a new purpose: to fight for the amazing life you made for yourself, to look that risk of heart disease square in the face and say, no, not me. You've been given a new opportunity to live. Get started at NoDiabetesByHeart.org.
Okay, everybody, it's time for your Tuesday sports page. We start with some news from the gridiron as Maryland running back Nolan Ray has been named a preseason candidate for the Doak Walker Award. This award is given annually to the nation's best running back. Last season, Ray played in all 12 games for the Terps and rushed for 374 yards and averaged 5 yards a carry while splitting touches with former Terp running back Roman Hemby. He also scored 2 touchdowns and caught 11 passes for 76 receiving yards. Looking forward to seeing what you do this season, Nolan. And sticking with football news, the Washington Commanders continue to gear up for the start of the season. And one group that seems to be making waves at training camp are the team's rookies. Offensive lineman Josh Connolly, cornerback Trey Amos, and wide receiver Jalen Lane are just a few other newest members of the Burgundy and Gold that have made their presence felt during this period. And head coach Dan Quinn gave his thoughts on this rookie class.
They have maturity, their work ethic is strong. I had told the coaches I was impressed by the amount of work they did in the spring rookie camp, getting the guys ready. It doesn't show itself at mini camp. They're still swimming. There's still too much information, but it does show now. It does show when they're able to now compete and fully express who they are, how they play. And so they're off to a good start, man. I've been impressed by Lane. There's a number of guys that have jumped out to me so far.
Washington will suit up for their first preseason game against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Baltimore Orioles took the diamond last night against the Philadelphia Phillies. Now the game started off close as the ball game was tied at 3-all after the first 3 innings. But that will be all the runs the Orioles scored as Philly rattled off 10 more to win the game 13-3. A big reason for the O's stalling on offense was Phillies pitcher Jesus Luzardo. Here's manager Tony Mancelino after the game on Luzardo's performance.
Really good starting pitcher right there in the big leagues. The sweeper was really good. He was tough on our left-handed hitters today. Gunnar had the one knock right there, but he beat us up a little bit. But, you know, he tacked his own. He was good. I thought our bats off him in the first part of the game was good. Once he settled down, he got really tough. The sweeper was tough. The fastball had life to it. It's a really good Major League starting pitcher.
The Birds and Phillies take the diamond again tonight at 6:45. Hopefully they can bounce back. And wrapping up sports, the Washington Mystics will face off against the Chicago Sky tonight. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock. And that wraps up your Tuesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, it's going to be mostly cloudy out with light wind. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, and we have a 20% chance of showers around 2 p.m. Thursday will be mostly sunny with a high of 83 and a low of 66. Friday will also have a high of 83 to kick off the weekend.
And for our community calendar this Saturday, Starbuzz Media is hosting DMV Party in the Park. Get ready for music, games, food, and more at the festival lot. This event takes place from 1 to 9 p.m., but for more information, visit Eventbrite and search DMV Party in the Park. All right, that's all the time we have for CTV News. Thanks so much for joining us.
We're going to see you again tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.